also tonight for the big presentation. The guys, after I do the metrics, the team is here to talk about the budget and the projects.
Awesome. That's awesome. Go ahead and hit play, Brian, so it'll start recording.
Stop video.
It's a minute early. It's not.
What?
No.
Okay, do what?
Go ahead and hit play. Record.
Oh.
That's the way, technically, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Any objections to get started?
No, I'm good.
All right, service,
We're gonna end before anybody can get here.
service committee and service committee for September 26th. Start at 6 p.m. All meeting to order. Roll call.
Cosgray,
Present.
Foreman, President Schaffner.
Present.
All right, we also have village administrator, Terry, mayor, and the fiscal officer, and Chuck Keller here, and some folks in the audience. They'll be giving a presentation. I get approval of the August 22 minutes.
I looked them over before the meeting. I said everything looked in order to me. How about you, Deb?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve them as written.
Shopper seconds.
Motion properly made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. We can go to, do you want to go right into Terry to go through?
Okay.
We're gonna do business.
You have
business.
Oh, okay, we do have. visitors, all right. So if you want to.
Jerry.
Jerry, you're on.
Okay.
This is committee, right?
Yes.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Service committee, yes, sir.
I'm here to see about South Company Street, if it's on the paving list and how soon it will be. It's got a long history since the conception when I built it. And there's a lot of lies paved there. And now you're gonna have to come down and mow it. Because it's got grass growing right up through the center. Now I realize there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to count the guy in the corner, there's only 6 residents back there. But we deserve to have the road as well as anybody else. When it was originally built, Hugh Schaffner was the muscles of the village council. And it was a single lane back to where you go into Harmon's property. From that on, there was no lane. So I built the rest of it, and Hugh Schaffner says from my property on, because of your requirement, it was supposed to be 70 foot. 70 foot. So you go back on one lane, you hit 70 foot and shoot right off to the sewage station. Well, I didn't build it that wide. I built it for single cars passing, comfortable. Okay, after I built the road, you guys paved it. And then after you paved it, you built your sewage plant so you could tear it up sideways. We used to have both sides mowed and you guys went in there and had a good time and really screwed it up. And it's time to have it paved again. So I'm trying to find out when it might be on the paving list. I know you only got so much money, but it seems to be going the same places every year.
We do have that spreadsheet. Priorities for what's get paid and when. We map that out over the next 5 years. So.
In 5 years, you'll have to cut down the trees in the middle of the road, okay?
I don't know that-
So I'd like a little bit more definite, and you got a bunch of people around here can make a decision, you got a budget.
Terry, did we look at that anytime recently?
It's like, Wade said we have a 5-year plan out for roads
Is it on?
and streets, and I don't know, I'd have to look, but I do not believe, Mr. Tim, do you
got it.
remember? No, so it must be far enough down. We'll have to review it and then get back to Jerry and
So
The
what,
team.
what we've been doing with roads is some paving projects we've been doing recently. We've been trying to mirror them with utility projects because we don't want to pave a road and then have to tear it up, put a water line or sewer line in. So we've been doing the paving when we're doing the underground utility.
Everything on that road is fairly new, including the water, gas.
I don't see any
yeah, I'll
See,
look for it.
When I wouldn't build it as wide as the council wanted it 70 foot, which was an idiotic thing,
They wanted it 70 feet wide back then.
because that's the widest road in Baltimore. Company Street was gonna save us with the canal before the railroads got here. And Hugh Schaffner demanded 70 foot and I shoved it up his butt.
I mean,
I'll review the list.
And so when we did put it in, you guys said, well, we're gonna do this and that. So next year we'll widen it and pave it. Well, next year never came, and that's a lot of years ago. How old's your sewage plant? The substation,
So we have,
pardon? The one down below my property.
but he's talking the water treatment plant. When they redid the construction there, so that'd be 0809.
south.
So that's been pretty old, so that's how many years I've been waiting for the city to do something.
Yeah, I have Maple Street from Margaret's company is very poor, but I don't see.
That got paved this year.
And you can't inspect that road from the big old SUV because you can't see it. But there's grass going up to the center, it's crumbling. It's not a long road, but it's my road.
Not on the 5-year,
Not on the 5-year.
not on the 5-year.
I'm not doing nothing. You guys forgot about it as soon as you got your plan in.
Company Street North.
No,
He's talking
it's
south.
south.
When's north on for?
Maple to cul-de-sac. It's as fair condition.
Well, that's
I'm
the
still
north
looking.
side.
I built the cul-de-sac too. I paid to have the road built.
I don't see it on there as part of the capital improvements. There's 5 years. Need to revisit that.
Let me see if I have on my tablet, because we have the entire inventory. I mean, that's still several years old, but let me see if I have that. Let's see what it says.
The only trucks that are on that road anymore are the ones going to your place down over the hill and UPS and the post office.
To answer your question directly, I do not see on the 5-year capital improvements plan, North Company Street on there as being south, sorry. South Company Street on the list. So we can definitely revisit that.
Right. My question is, how do I get on the list? If you guys lost me, I can't expect much more in the next 5 years.
The list was, I think, put together, correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, on the priority of the condition of the street. And I suppose like the usage of the street.
And the water, and whether we're going
And
to put a water
right,
line there or
exactly,
not.
with infrastructure, with the water and things underneath. infrastructure improvements.
And I see in the inventory back then, it's what, about 600 feet long, 500 feet long? 10 feet wide. It is listed as 4. So, dozens of roads that we have listed as 4. So there's no doubt it needs done.
And so what's the situation? How do you go about it?
As was just explained, we look at, do we have infrastructure projects going in there, the usage, in a number of factors to put it in with other paving projects and projects to prioritize the road paving.
Okay, do you have infrastructures going in there?
Down South Company,
Yeah,
not that we're aware of, not that I'm aware of.
there's no property available on it. So if somebody builds, I don't know where they're gonna build. Unless they go down to your plant and build.
Right.
So we haven't looked at next year's paving projects yet. When we're going.
We have, we'll look at them tonight. But we'll just have to revisit this. See if we can hook it to something, but again, priorities were according to directives, were do infrastructure and then pay over the top of it. Team come on down and come back.
When were the water and wastewater lines put in down?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Mayor.
When were the water lines put in on South Company, do you know?
I think we built our house maybe in 94.
So it literally is probably the newest line.
Yeah,
in
we
the
are the
village.
newest line. Matter of fact, we're so out of the way that the water department forgets to flush it frequently. So I have to come up and see somebody and then they go flush it. But we're just unnoticed. We'll be more unnoticed because none of my friends can get to me.
Because of the tree growing in the middle of the
That's
road, right?
right.
Yeah.
Tree City. We will definitely take a look at that. We appreciate your bringing that up to our attention.
Okay, when should I hear back from you?
I mean, you're welcome to hang out tonight because we're talking about next year's paving projects tonight. I'll be frank, I'd be surprised if we change something to add it to next year's projects. But as we continue to evaluate from year to year, it's, I guess it's a fluid type thing as conditions change.
Well, you know, as a citizen of
But-
Baltimore, and with us donating so much property to the village, I really feel put upon, even with the mowing job that you never got back to me on. Your mowers were supposed to go down and mow around the plant, and they mowed half of my field with the bush hog. And I found out who it was, because they weren't supervised, and they never even cleaned it up, so it took a year and a half to grow out. So they mowed about a half acre of my property that I didn't want mowed. You know, it just seems like, well, if we got to dump on someone, let's go to South Company and dump there. You know, I just getting tired. I'm 82 years old and I doubt if I'll be around it the way the council reacts, you know, to getting things done. And it's always been this way. Small councils don't have enough money and they've got their own friends and priorities.
I will say, yes, council sets their priorities, but I don't think it's fair to suggest that anybody is giving any friends any preferential treatment.
Okay,
Because you're not the first person to sit there or to come to us individually and say, but we're buddies, why can't we get this? It doesn't happen that way, and it's unfair.
well,
to
it never
suggest
has in the
otherwise.
past, but things are changing. So I don't know.
So I will.
Because I hardly recognize but one or two councilmen, 3 council members.
Well, we're in committee, so not all of them are here yet.
Okay, that's all I wanted to see you about. I don't know if we accomplished anything, but I'd like to be let known.
I wouldn't say it's, you accomplished something, because you, again, if we're not paying attention to South Company, you've made sure it's on our radar.
Yeah.
So,
Should have been on your radar. You've used it an awful lot in the last few years. So, I appreciate it.
all right, appreciate it, Jerry. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, Sheriff. Fantastic.
No. Good old fight.
Okay, so any other visitors? That then.
We go into the metrics and then we can leave the rest of the meeting for discussion on the budget.
Absolutely.
So I will start with the wastewater treatment plant metric for, it says May, that is not a true statement. No. So as you can see, everything looks pretty good, including the fact that Brad hasn't, with the rainfall we have, I shouldn't say Brad, but the wastewater treatment plant is doing better and getting overflows. So we still have 3 of the membranes in auto. Correct. And so things are going much better. When we had a big dump of rain, not even a couple of weeks ago, there were no overflows. So what we're doing is doing good. So and that's when we're cleaning the membranes. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the South Central usage that for some reason has gone up a little bit. So I am not sure how to correlate this. And we were talking in staff on how we can correlate this up and down. And I think a lot of it has to do with the demand, the peak times or whatever that we're using it. So Mr. Little is in the process of working with South Central and to see what we can do at those peak times. So hopefully we can come up with something. If you remember, we've looked at all different kinds of sources of energies, but maybe it's just going to come down to the peak hours and et cetera.
Are you talking like at peak hours when we're charged higher rates
Mhm,
for more usage?
mhm.
Charge off the land.
So he is working on a project with South Central and hopefully we can do something with that. The other thing I wanted to show you on the other page is the amount of door tags that we had this month. We had 83, which is the largest amount of door tags that we've had. Door tags are, again, placed on the doors of those who are delinquent in their bills. As you can see, out of those 83 door tags, the following day, or close to the following day, 76 came in and paid. So we only had 7 shut-offs this time. We had none the month before, so a couple of 7 shut-offs were carried over from the month before. But this is an issue. I call this a hidden cost because we have 2 guys that, last month we had 2 guys that took most of the day to go to the 83 houses to hang door tags to remind somebody to pay their bill. So I bring it up because tonight on your agenda for council and for this meeting, you'll find an ordinance 2022-32. And last month I brought it to you that we were going to try to establish a price or a cost for having to hang a door tag to try to, to make up the amount of money that we're spending for 2 people to go out and hang door tags. What we've come up with is a $5 charge. So every time they go out to hang a door tag, there will be a $5 fee attached to that. So I'm looking to bring this to council tonight to pass. It doesn't have to pass as an emergency. It can go the 3 reads, but ask me questions. Again, we talked about this last meeting, and if not, then I need somebody to sponsor this for tonight's council meeting.
Since we're talking fees, I do have a question based on an email from someone that was complaining about their late fees. They were complaining about them and wanted to know how not to get them. I told them to pay their bill on time. But Brian,
Yo,
when someone calls in and pays on their water bill with a credit card, we get charged for that and we pass that cost through
No, the credit card company charges the person using the card
directly. Okay.
directly.
We don't get.
We don't collect anything.
So if that person then calls in and says void that transaction, it doesn't cost us anything.
We're not sure about that. We did that this last week. But I'm not sure whether we're gonna get a charge or not.
I haven't seen anything come across the bank statement, so I don't think we.
I just want to make
It's
sure.
just a noun.
So what happened is person.
I know, but I always
Several units,
reconcile every week.
late fees, called in to pay. Gave Missy all the information, she processed it, and they said, well, I don't want to pay all those fees, I'll just send you a check, cancel the credit card fee. Cancel the credit card payment, so cancel the credit card payment. I just want to make sure we're not incurring a
Brian will
cost.
keep an eye on
I'll
that,
keep an eye, but I have never, this was last week.
just last.
Cause I usually
Half an
reconcile
hour.
once a
yeah,
week,
you
clear
said
trans.
it was a mistake, probably, yeah.
No, I clear transactions once a week. I print off a copy of the
You
bank
may-
statement and those kinds of things would appear and I haven't seen anything
All
yet.
right,
Well,
I just want
let's
to make
give it
sure
a
we're
couple
not
of
charged
weeks
for
to
it.
make sure we're not on the leading edge of it, because I am not sure, because that was a big one,
Yeah,
so.
there's a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they like my response, pay on time. But
So,
it's how you avoid late fees.
so I need a sponsor for this ordinance, please. Thank you, Jim. Do you have any questions specifically about it? I think it's pretty cut and dry. Obviously, the door hangers remind those people to pay their bills, and they do.
Yeah, I got a question. Of the 83,
Mhm.
are they one that constantly every month? Are they pretty well same one all the time?
We have a portion of people that are like that, but it seems to be every month, and that's why you see 7 shut-offs for this month.
I see that it's higher this month than it's been
Mhm.
in the entire year.
Mhm.
Did other people's bills get messed up or was it just ours?
Oh, I'm sorry, what is that?
There was a billing glitch in our bills.
Um,
No,
And
that,
I'm just wondering if it had anything to do with a billing error.
no, that had nothing to do with that. What happened was, Park Nationals
Mhm.
went to a new system, and somehow they pulled the previous months
Right.
instead of the current months, and they had
I'm
to
sure
fix
none of
it.
these people were auto pays, probably,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, well,
Is
it
that
was
why
just-
it went, is that why it
Connected to
came out,
auto
went
pay.
in and then?
It went in, it came out, then went back out.
Yeah.
They had the quick, easiest thing to do was just to fix that, but they're not
Totally
on,
unrelated to these,
Oh,
because
okay.
Totally
the problem was
unrelated.
all with auto pays, none of it was with
no,
actual billing sent out.
that's correct.
If I'm guessing on the increase, start of school. School supplies, school clothes, school fees. It correlates to a major purchasing event.
I believe, yes.
Aye. Motion carries. We're gonna forward the 2022 to council.
Thank you. I want to quickly touch on the other 2 pieces of old business before we start talking projects. If you remember last month, when we started talking about the trash contract, it was suggested that I reach out to the other trash haulers just to get a guesstimate or an estimate of what they would charge. Nobody would supply us with any numbers. They said they weren't gonna supply me with numbers. So the only person that supplied me with numbers was Rumpke. They said that if I want their numbers, that I have to go out to bid. So I found them very uncooperative. The one company, I was on the phone for 45 minutes waiting for someone to take my call. And after the 45-minute call, I had to leave my name and my number, and then they would call me back, and that was the next day. I started looking, customer service was not very good for them. And I don't, our residents right now, if there are issues with trash, it is such a small issue and they get taken care of right away. I tell you this because Pickerington right now is looking to, they haven't decided, but they've been presented for just an extension on their contract. And if you remember, we've been piggybacking with Pickerington to get a good price. So they met Friday, I believe, with Rumpke, and they have in their hand right now a proposal to extend. So by next meeting, we should have something to say what their numbers are. My preference, but I'm leaving, and that's up to you guys. I think the extension is a good thing. Remember that when we do have to change companies, it's a big change for everybody. It'll be a different trash day, different containers, different times. So
So local waste was non-responsive.
they would not give me any numbers. They said that they don't work like that. They would give me numbers if I want to bid the project. So, which I asked for an estimate. I didn't ask for a flat, an agreement number, but so that's where I'm at on the trash. And this should be changed, Brian, this needs to be changed to east side. Drainage project. We met on Thursday with V3. They had engaged additional staff members to look at this. They are full speed ahead on this. I told them it's a top priority. I would like to see this done as soon as possible. We'll be meeting with them. We didn't come up with a date as far as the next, so we'll go ahead in a couple of weeks, set up another meeting with them and see how far along they are. So it is moving forward. And that's all I have to update. Any questions? Thing I'm going to do is, Brian, if you could share your screen, I would like to talk tonight about the 2023 budget. If you remember, when I started here 6 years ago, one of the things that I wanted to do is that not only the council needs to know what's going on with the budget, but so do the different departments, because they are staying within their appropriations. So I had Brian go ahead and put together the 2023 proposed budget, and you have that in your email. And so tonight, I've asked the staff to come and explain the projects, and Brian has all of these projects in the budget. So all of these projects are in the current 2023 budget. And I wanted them to come to explain exactly what the projects were about and what got added or what didn't get added and what should be. So it looks like the first one up, is that the first slide? Brian?
Yeah.
Wonder, is Joey?
All right, so the first project up there is a meter upgrade. We are currently in the process of switching from Badger meters to Neptune meters. Their software is a lot more user-friendly. So this meter upgrade is actually a combination of software and meters. We're looking at roughly 25 to 30,000 in meters, and then the remainder would be a software upgrade. Just like I said, a lot more user friendly for myself, Missy, anybody doing billing, reading. The equipment is so much easier to use. Next project is the tower outside power washing. I don't know if you notice, it's a little dingy. That is a rough cost. We had our inside clean out a little over a month ago. So we're good on that end, just trying to get something set up to get the outside washed. Ground storage tank, which is out behind the old bowling alley, which is now needs straw. Doing a washout on the ground storage tank as we do with the tower every year. have for the last 5 to 7 years, I think. That has not been done in 10 years. Little overdue, but we're gonna push to get it done. Brine system, that is the internal brine system at the water treatment plant. Right now, it's kind of a combination of automatic and a little bit of manual use there. Trying to get it fully 100% automatic. Don't have to babysit it, just walk away and you're done.
Will that be on the SCADA system, Joey?
That will, yes, it does link to, it actually links to the Tonka, which in turn is SCADA as well. So everything can be done from my computer remotely. I can do it wherever.
Is it a bigger tank?
It will be. So right now, to go back a little bit, the design of that plant in 2015, a regen cycle on the softeners was 350 gallons is what it needed to regen one softener. There's 2 of them. And they can hit back to back. Right now, they decided to put a 200-gallon tank in there. So now it's a float system, a manual float system, which fails quite often. So we are having a lot more issues with it. And that's why we're wanting to do away with it. Fully automated. I can control it from my phone wherever I'm at.
So what size tank would you go to?
I'm gonna go to a 500. Because typically they do not hit back to back. There is a set point timer between 2 regions. Right now it is currently 45 minutes. But if I can't make brine, 100% brine in that 45 minutes, I'm failing again because at one point I'm already at 200 gallons. I'm 150 gallons shy. So it just,
And a fail, the mayor has witnessed a fail. It looks like a snow mountain in there.
yeah,
So it makes quite a mess. And this way, you will know that it's doing that as opposed to waiting until you go in and it's a snowstorm. Yeah.
yeah. And there was one occasion, I think 2 years ago, that I probably lost 27 to 30,000 gallons of brine because it overflowed all night and I didn't know it. And at $6,000 a truckload to get salt, it's a little expensive. So that's the brine system upgrade. North Factory water line is kind of in conjunction, as it says, with the Washington Street project. We have a little short section of 2-inch right now from Washington to Market. Not a very good line. Can't get a lot of fire protection there. So that's something that I think we can potentially do ourselves. And that's why you only see that cost at 20,000. A lot of that is going to be in-house, obviously. And then projects already approved is Washington Street water line that was through the ARP grant. Monroe is CDBG. We actually also have North Granville and East Water. That is a OPWC project, which is not up there.
I think I put it on streets because it was a combination of.
Okay.
Streets also.
But that water line is also going to go in, along with paving there, but so That is kind of where we're at.
So Brian, again, Brian has put all of these projects into the budget. And with all of these projects into the budget and the potential of the revenue coming in, Joy stands at about $10,000 left. But Brian, what did you tell me today? You still have more to do on the revenues?
Yeah, I think I have to do some more work on the revenues.
So there are more potential revenues coming in. So while he is only at $9,969 as unencumbered funds, so remember, this is what we're not allocating anything for, I feel there'll be more income coming in than what appears on your sheet currently. So I think we're good.
Right now, he's projected carry.
Can I ask something? As far as the meters are concerned, are there any resultant indirect cost gain by upgrading the meters? So
Actually, absolutely. Right now, I currently cannot pick up roughly 80 meters. I have no usage. They get billed minimum bill, so they could be using 10,000 gallons. We don't know.
They're not reading.
At all, they're not reading. No matter what I do, I cannot get them to read. And it fluctuates a little bit month to month. Sometimes it's 71, sometimes it's 90, sometimes it's 68, sometimes it's 77. That's why I throw the rough number of 80.
How many meters does this replace? Because we've been working on replacing meters for a long time. So it's
So-
two-part question. How many replace, and do the existing meters that we just replaced work with the new Neptune software?
Yes, everything Neptune based is gonna stay Neptune. It doesn't matter. It could be 15 years from now. They will still work with that software. Right now, I think I have roughly 55 meters in stock of Neptunes. That 27 to 30,000 is almost 150 meters. There's a little over 1,300 in the village, so it's going to be a long process, but the biggest reason of going to Neptune was their software. User friendly, Badger's communication, customer support, horrible.
Trying to find this on the budget. What line? would it be on?
Oh,
And while he's looking for that, so
oh, what, the meters?
if we go
Oh,
for this
I
next
see
change
20,000 on
over,
water
would
fund.
we kind of expect $40,000
I get
a year or so for like the next
Okay,
4 or 5 years until we
So
get all the
there's the
meters
numbers.
replaced?
I would say 40 to 50, whatever we can push.
Okay.
I mean, outside of water lines, obviously our
Yeah.
main focus is the water line part, but
that line right there, Rick, 80,000 is made up of the upgrade to brine system, GST clean out, and the washing of the water tower.
Seeing that line on this spreadsheet.
It's 5101, 54432.
534.
I'm pretty sure. This is also a part of that unaccounted for water that the EPA is pushing for us to account for. So
and you're
Joey-
looking for the meter upgrade, Rick?
I'm just looking for what line those projects are
Oh.
on this budget that I was given in a spreadsheet.
You got to make sure you're over in the prop detail.
Yes,
It's a-
PROP.
It's a proprietary account. So it's the special account, not on that first summary. of
Yeah,
revenue.
not
I
the
see-
summary.
I see the tab at the bottom.
Yeah.
Got it.
So anyhow, this, like Joey said, that we may have some people that are using more than the men, or some are less, and that's what, when they use more, that's what we're talking about unaccounted for water.
And the EPA is pushing that hard right now. Unaccounted, they want to know where your water is going, if it's not being consumed or billed for.
Right.
They want to know,
And the other thing. that we-
along with ODNR.
I would. Yeah.
The other thing,
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we try to be a little proactive at the beginning of the year where we knew the supply chain was getting messed up, supply chain as far as getting things, and that's why Joe went ahead and ordered those meters, so at least we have those in-house. So that's, yeah, until the supply chain gets healthy again.
I mean, it took me 4 months to get
Yeah, it
those
did.
meters.
I got questions on the tower, but I'll make sure we're done with meters before. Is who does the ground storage? Is that the company that does the elevated?
Potentially. That's a few different quotes coming back to me at that point, but yeah.
Okay. So then, when we do the elevated at 50, we do an annual maintenance contract with them, and they do the inside, they do the inspections, they clean out the inside every couple of years. That makes sense.
What does the 50 stand for?
$50,000 was off, but we budgeted to clean the inside.
It's down to 23.
My budget said 50.
No,
The spreadsheet said 50.
that's my quote for the outside
Outside.
clean
Right.
of the tower.
Right. The
It
outside,
sounded contractual with them.
right, well, then that's my question is
If
if
they're cleaning the inside of
If
their
they're
elevator
cleaning the
tank,
inside,
why
we
wouldn't
have
they
to
do that
we
with the
do
same
it.
time?
Yeah, we do a 5 to 7 year contract with them. Why can't we include do the outside every 2 to 3 years? And if they know it's coming, instead of, here's our quote at 50 or something, whatever it is, it's a little cheaper.
That's true.
It's the same company.
It's a good thought. What we did is that I asked him to get more than one quote, so we had something to compare.
And I'm just thinking, if they're doing the outside, they gotta rappel up. When they do the inside, they rappel up. Why can't they do the inside and then the outside? Every 2 years.
And the ground tank,
And the ground tank.
like mobilization has a cost.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely. And that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of kicking it around right now. 50,000 is thrown out there.
We had to get a budget. on it.
But it's coming down. But I mean, if it comes down to, like, would you say 23?
And that's what our contract is right now per year with them, because we were in the first year of tear down.
Right.
We were at, what was it, 60?
And we're in the second year. Tear down. Last year was 23.5. This year is 24,369.70.
Okay.
I want to
Second
say
year
when we
tear
talk to them
down.
about the next contract, it might make sense.
Yeah,
Put
absolutely.
those services together.
Good thought.
Frank,
To what?
back to the PowerPoint one.
Yeah.
Project. All my questions.
Done with me, I'm
I believe
good.
so. I'm good.
All right, you're off the hot seat.
Who's up next? Frank?
Oh,
Who's up next?
oh,
Click on slide two.
I did. It didn't,
There it
didn't
is.
work.
There it is.
But it didn't, it didn't.
No, slide two. Straight.
Right there.
Okay.
Whoa.
Go hold still.
There you go. There you go, Mr. Tim.
Hey, sorry about all this. We're trying to get this map figured out. But I'm gonna pass this around, and this is from 18 to 22, the streets we paved code-wise, okay? And we're trying to get a big map made of this, so we can do something with it. But if you guys can see, we'd like to do Brown, Fremont, and Cumberland next year. Our water line is complete. I can do that with OPWC. So we need about 50 grand to match that, and it'd be about 191,000. And we've got the OPWC for Granville, Eastwater, and Short Street for the water line and the pavement, the sidewalk still planned, and then paving Monroe Street after the installation of the water line. So that's what we have planned for next year. So,
One of the things you're doing is trying to build up your,
but yeah, we're trying to build up our cash a little bit for Washington Street, because that, when we do that, and I believe that'll be the following year, we have a pretty big nut to crack to try to get Washington Street paved. That's gonna be,
Washington's gonna get milled all the way down.
that's gonna take a lot of money to do all that, so. But this is what we thought. Now, I know Joe had Factory Street in there. Okay, that's if Washington Street gets done, which not if, when. And also like going down towards Subway, that's a train wreck going down that hill too. And if we do Washington Street, I can tell you to a point today with the gentleman come in that North Company Street from Washington back to Market has not been paved since I've been here, okay, since 2008. And so back down the other way, that hasn't either. So if Washington Street is done and we're putting water line in that section of Washington Street that we have none, maybe we could parlay that into doing that at the same time. So just a little kicker for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 'cause it's not that long of a road right there.
No, it's
And
not.
then you were
It's not.
saying, do Factory Street, and the factory's got a water line going in next year, do Factory with paving on Washington, just a little offshoot.
Right, well, but also going on the other side of Market, down towards Subway.
Okay.
Have you been down through there?
No, I go in the driveway because it's so. hard to
Okay,
get down
it's
there.
a whole lot
Because-
better. I
Because you
know.
know, because I drive a small car these days, to go down there at my bottom.
But here's the thing about that, Mayor, I will tell you. We need to replace the water line on George Street, okay? And East Street, and that's things we can do by ourselves. Now, it's not coming next year. But if we could do that, we would have everything from Tower Street, other than Canal. I know Canal and South High, I believe is the only things we would not have paved on that side of town and in the past little mess there when I showed you guys. So trying to get sections done, you know what I mean, as we go. So that whole side of town will be done. So kind of, sort of,
Mostly,
yeah.
kind of, sort of mostly. I assume you don't need to see the map.
No, and we're gonna try to get
We
that
have-
drawn up.
Here's the thing about this map. This is all scanned.
Yeah.
And so when I did this, I did everything the same size, like 66.7%. I don't know who scanned it, but it does not match up. And she's chuckling because she knows what I'm talking about. Now it looks like a kindergartner put all this together. I didn't want to show this.
It works.
Well, but I want to give you an idea. And there's more than that, I mean, that we have done. But I mean, that just goes back to what I said, 18, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have done quite a little bit.
Be nice if we could put that on the website.
That's what
and the upcoming.
Yeah, but we need a map that looks like something.
Yeah, the people can go to the website and see.
Yeah.
look, this is-
Right.
So, but that's where I'm at. Has anybody got any questions for me? Okay, good, thank you. Brad.
No, this is you, Tim.
No, that's you again.
No, not me again. What are we on now?
I know.
We got up here, Terry.
East side.
The east side and then the drainage project. Remember, Tim,
How about the,
South Main Street drainage project that Mr. Chuck brought up last week?
Yes,
So
yes.
talk to that a little bit.
Okay, so I did shoot some grade the other day, Chuck. So from the front of car company. And then we have that retention pond that we take care of back by the apartments back there. And southeast lift station, that's where all that goes. We have enough fall that, and that's a 12-inch line, I believe we can put in and run it back there. We do have to get underneath our water line. But I have enough fall that I believe that wouldn't be a big issue. So I just know that's that transite water line, I want to stay clear away from it. So,
But this was where Chuck, you brought up about how it was washing out.
oh, it is,
Right,
it's a
it's
mess.
bad.
It is a mess.
I would say somebody.
It's flowing backwards.
Yeah.
Because what is happening, we have a 10-inch, whatever's coming across the road there, I'm not even sure what size that is, there's a smaller one. and they all go to a 6-inch line that goes underneath the car company. That's not gonna handle it. And I don't know why somebody thought that would. But I think we can run right down the edge of the car company's property. You know what I mean, and stay away from everybody and get that down through there and then cut it over into that. And we'd have a way to get rid of that, so.
So that's where we're at with
Yes.
those projects right now. You want to update them a little bit of what you're doing today?
Well, we are starting on the deal over there for, I call it Company and Liberty Street Storm, whatever you want to call it. It's running from Maple down to Market. We got all that laid out. It's a little deeper than I thought it was. Like behind Casey Farmer's house, everybody knows where Casey lives. It's gonna be close to 10 foot deep right there. But I gotta start from the point over there at Maple, over by Brandy's, and I have to run down, and I gotta have fall to get there, and at 1%, that's about where I landed at. So, it'll get there, but some people, we have a little estimated cost. I had just looking, I didn't think it would be that bad, but it's really a lot lower over there, what I call Maple, than it is like behind Casey's house. So, yeah, we kind of estimate about $3,500. Might be a little bit more, 'cause it's gonna be a little bit deeper, so.
For the lateral lines from the
Yeah,
houses to the,
To get
to
to
the storm line.
you know, their sump pumps into that, so. But we can get there, and then, of course, once we start over the hill heading down towards Market, all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, 3-4 foot deep, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But up in that hump there, it's gonna be pretty deep. So, and that, they should bore that out tomorrow. Tomorrow's what, Tuesday? I say they'd be out of here by Thursday with that. And then we can dig from the elbow in the alley. Does everybody know where I'm talking at? We'll dig that on north, and then we'll set that catch basin right there at Maple, and then we'll run over to Company and set that drop for there and get that messed right.
What's the diameter of the drains?
That's 8-inch that they're boring in, and then we're putting in 6-inch. So we're going from 6 around to 8. So,
And then we figured, and we posted it to the website today, that we figured in 2 weeks, we should be done with that project over there, around 2 weeks. Is that
Yeah.
what we said?
less than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, so what we said 2 weeks on the website, so.
They'll want to be out of here this week. We can finish up next week, and then the following week, they want to come in. And I might be running on Brad and Joe, but we're going to do bores underneath the 256 for the 4 new houses for the sewer. And then we're going to put 3 water lines further out east to get 3 lots over there that Plum has. So we'll have our water over there, and then we got 1 lot on Old Run. Go ahead and get the sewers across that point too. So while they're here, we're gonna get all that done.
And so Tim ordered all of the permits from ODOT. It was approved for all of the permits. Because ODOT will not give the permits to any one person. The village has to apply for that. So Tim has did that. He's got approval for all of the permits that he just talked about. So we're ready to go.
Yeah, and the only other thing is, and Terry will tell you later, we're waiting on EPA now because we need a permit to install the sewer line up here on 256. But as you see things come to a crawl, I'll just let you fill that in later.
No, that's all right. Go ahead, Tim.
ODOT has not accepted the mix that Shelley has. They're mixing their pavement, their blacktop mix or whatever, and grindings. And they're still kind of squabbling about that. So that's why that whole thing hasn't been paid. So we will still not be in anybody's way. They can finish that. Yeah. The only thing is, and I hope, because we talked about, we had a quote. there's gonna be another move-in charge, and I hope that that doesn't bite us in the hind end for doing that up there, because we're waiting on the EPA. So,
He has said, because it's over 1,000 linear feet,
Yep.
we have to do.
what are we, like 1150, something like
It's very
that?
close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but we're not holding that project up
No.
one bit. If somebody
They can
says,
finish
hey,
it.
Baltimore's doing this, no, we're not. We're not. And we never have been,
No.
so.
We're ready
We
to-
were on the track to have the $30,000 engineering in the 2022 budget. I thought we were reallocated 2022 on.
Yeah, we were taking.
That is the East Side Safety Study, yes.
Okay, so this is where we're at. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So what we do is we look at the budget and we look at carryover. So if we don't get this done before then, it will carry over to the 2023. If we get it done before that, this is one of the items that Brian will change.
Okay.
But right now, it's in what we call carryover mode. Okay. Any more questions for Tim? Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Looks like Brad.
Okay. So we started off, we had a pretty big list of projects that we wanted to do. We were kind of had our hands slapped a little bit. Kind of had to go with what we were allowed to do. So we started off with our blower room, getting some steel for our blower room, basically having some sort of crane pulley system that we can pull blowers and motors out of that small little room. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. It's a very, very tight room, heavy machinery in there. So when one of those, goes out on us, we have to pull it out, and the way we've had to do it is just not the most ideal way to do it. So trying to make things a little easier on ourselves and put some sort of system up for the future when we have to pull those out. Our biotank diffusers, we still have in our biotanks the original diffusers from when the plant was built. There's a couple of those. They're old tube membrane diffusers. They get old after a long period of time, and they will tend to pull out. Like sometimes the connections will break. Sometimes when a plant will shut down and the air kicks on right away, sometimes things can happen with that. So it's time to change those out, and probably looking at replacing those with the membrane, the bladder diffusers that we did in the sludge tank. That would actually replace all of the diffusers in all three of our tanks, actually. The exhaust fan for our blower room as well. I'm not sure why they gave us such a small exhaust fan for that room, but it gets probably what, 130 to 140 degrees. 130, 140 degrees in that blower room. And that's not good on the equipment. So what we're looking to do there is basically knock out it's kind of, we're kind of looking at that.
We actually looked at a hole in the side of the wall to get ventilation in, and the rooftop, bigger rooftop unit on the roof, and get that air flowing through that room.
Yeah.
Right now, we got doors kind of propped open to an extent, with two big fans just blowing through the room.
Yeah. So trying to more preventative projects than anything. Next, we threw out, so I'm gonna kind of skip the sludge building real quick because I want to jump down to the projects that we needed but could not fund this year. Is the membrane train skid, which is not really an issue right now. When they built the plant, all of our plumbing that comes out of the membranes, all of it sits on metal skids, and that metal skid sits on the ground. There's no room for water or anything, moisture, anything like that to drain out. So the bottom of those are starting to get some surface rust on them. We kind of want to stay ahead of that, and along with some of the issues we had with the membranes and the hammering and everything, some of the pipes and stuff like that has had some leaks here and there. Since we got the membranes running a lot better, we haven't really had that issue, but we wanted to throw it out there because we didn't want to, walk in in a couple of years and say, hey, we need to do this now, trying to stay ahead of the game with replacing the plumbing. So we could do like trains 1 and 2 at one time and still run 3 and 4. And then once that's done, we could swap and go do 3 and 4, let 1 and 2 run. So that's more or less just trying to stay ahead of, something that could happen. The next one was our sludge process. We need to do something in the future about our sludge processing. The bags work okay, but they are such a long process to dry, and they can only fit so much in them. With Greif tying in, we have more sludge. If we grow, we need the bags just aren't going to cut it. So what we did was, since we didn't have the money obviously for the sludge press this year, we thought, well, maybe we could take a chunk out of that entire project and maybe start with the sludge building. Because we got to have some sort of structure that sludge press can go into before we even get it. So try to take a chunk out of it next year, build a building that the sludge press is going into, see where we sit, maybe do electric the following year. Get everything out of the old, we call it the old police building down below with the use of the fire. Pull the electric out of there, put into that building, and then work on. Right now, our bags have to sit. We try to let them sit. We like to have them sit at least a year, but sometimes 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. If we run out of room, we gotta get them hauled out. So at least with this, what we were planning on doing is cutting out the concrete barriers in between each bed and putting basically a building just for the press, and then the entire drying bed, and having a press to the conveyor that goes into the big open area, and it would basically fill the entire drying bed up rather than so we get more use out of that.
So what I want to point out here now is the next 3 slides, and you or Mr. Little can talk to this if you want. This is the beginning of phase 1 for the wastewater treatment plant from 26 or 8, I forget.
I believe it's 6 right there.
All right, so then we will look then what is below that. What that is, go ahead, Brad. Tell them what
That is plans to put in a sludge press for phase 1 when they built a new plant.
So it was in the plans to put it in because they knew we needed it. But when they built the plant, this is again, to the mayor's point a while back, one of the things they just quote unquote left out. And so the need was there and they saw that with phase 1, but they just didn't include it. And the second one, if you go down, Brian, that one, then would be the process.
The biggest difference in that plan and what Brad was stating is they should roll a container in that plan. We don't want to do roll a container because it's a constant turnaround of containers. But you're always having to haul out, where if we made that whole entire strip where sludge held, it would last.
We did some visits.
I was gonna say, talk about your business.
Well, we took a visit, and what one of the plants had was basically, there's a wall, obviously, between the drying bed and where the press is. There's a conveyor that comes out of that room and into the big open area. And what that sludge will do is then it will then just pile and it will flow out. And you have your concrete walls all the way around. You can make them however how you want. I believe they were probably what, 8 foot high maybe? They were pretty tall.
6 to 8 foot high.
6 to 8 foot high. There was one entrance in and out, and they would stack boards. As the sludge would come up, they would stack boards. So when they were ready to haul out, they would pull those boards out, and then they would have like a backhoe or something come in there, tractor, and they would start scooping and hauling. It'll be dry. It'll be under the roof. Yeah, we would like to have it under the roof. If we can get the roof before we start, that'd be great, but
The press takes out
Keep-
most of the moisture.
was that?
The press takes out most of
Yeah, yeah, it's like dry cakey. Yeah, it's, yeah, the moisture shouldn't. Yeah, the plants that we saw, that's just a concrete floor with some type of overhang is all that was. Yeah, basically, and it has concrete walls about 6 to 8 feet tall all the way around it. And then one entrance in and out.
And where does it go?
The liquid, the press itself takes the liquid out.
Where does it go?
That will go back to the head of the plant and be processed.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good
I
question.
was worried if he was gonna say the garden behind. the water plant.
Have you ever heard what they call
Vegetables are
Walnut
great.
Creek?
No. So when Brad said that he got his hand slapped a little bit on what he needs, Brad right now adds up this budget, and again, this is on the PRP, tab, has 198,000 that we haven't encumbered yet. And the reason why we haven't is because so much of the equipment at the wastewater treatment plant is original equipment. Nobody did preventive maintenance. We had quite the year this year where we had to do a lot of replacement of you name it, we did. So we didn't want him to get so tight that he wouldn't have money available in case something went south. And again, when Brian does the final budget, I think this number will grow. So to Brad's point, once he starts going next year, if he gets the building down, the other building up, maybe they can start on the electric or something. He should have some money to play with. So,
So the plan then is, the variance of whatever isn't encumbered. If at the end of 2023, it's still not encumbered, that becomes basically the seed money for the press. I mean, because that's $500,000.
and the nice thing about it, when he gets that much of seed money, then it's time to go for a grant because he has that much in match. And again, that's kind of always been my, that's what I shoot for, is that I have so much money to match where it's hard for anybody to say no, because while we're spending our money, we're still getting return on the money that we're not spending. So it's a good plan. So this way it kind of helps him plan for it. But in the meantime, he still has a very archaic system at best.
And Brian, can you flip back over to
PowerPoint.
and then go up to the project list right above the. So I assume where we got the sludge press and the sludge press electric for $60,000. The press itself gets its own high voltage panel and line and all that. good stuff.
That is kind of coincides with that old police building. We still have electric in there that does our lift station pumps. We got one wet well there that's on lift station pumps. It does our blowers for our sludge. So all that electric there will come out of there and go into that. So that building can go away. That building is a nuisance.
So it's not
just the press electric.
It's not just the press, it's
Correct.
moving other electric
Yeah.
to a centralized
It's trying to consolidate and get everything into one location that is a better location than we have now. There's a lot of moisture in the building that's there. Our polymers in there, which our polymer will move into the new building that we build. So that whole building there will be obsolete.
Where's you at every year? Some of them prices should be going up too.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
the
yeah.
A lot
issue.
are coming down, actually.
Yeah, and what we're looking at here, I'll just throw out there. In the drawing, it shows a belt press. We've used belt presses before. We've looked at screw presses. From what we've seen, rotary presses we like. What I liked about the rotary press was that they're individual plates that dry the sludge, and you can add plates as you go. So rather than if you bought a screw press and say 15 years from now, you're like, this isn't big enough, we're not able to process fast enough. You got to get a bigger press, screw press. With a rotary, you just add more plates to it. That's all you have to do for that. Plus, you can also turn it on and walk away from it.
What kind of buildings are you seeing over these? Because it's such a highly corrosive condition. What are they covering this with?
can imagine.
It's, yeah, fiberglass was one, yeah,
The ones we've seen.
the ones we've seen, and, yeah, concrete too.
Hence the reason the building's only $50,000.
That part. That's just over top of, that's just,
This is what we're allocating this year.
well, yeah, that's just the one part where the press is. That's not the whole bed.
And the press is not, the press area is not so corrosive because in the wintertime you keep it heated. Very warm. Like you don't keep it cool, but you keep it heated. It's where the sludge is stored. It's so much corrosive.
You have electrical components and stuff like that in there, so there has to be some sort of climate control in there.
Wow.
So we're trying to do our due diligence in keeping as much money back as we can, but still, if something goes south, then Brad has something to work with, because this event was really a nail biting year for him.
And we got some spare stuff out of it though.
Yeah, we did good. Brad, while you're on the spot, do you want to talk a little bit about Gripe and their milling process? and-
I reached out and I did not get anything back, but we have been monitoring it and there hasn't been any issue. The samples that we've gotten back have been fine. Yeah, because everything's going back. It's basically the same thing that we're talking here. They're pressing, but with a belt press, so their solids are going into a dumpster and then their effluent water is going back to the end of their plant being treated. So we haven't seen any issues so far with them.
But he's monitoring that on a daily
Yeah, we're
basis.
monitoring it,
So-
flow and their testing. So I haven't really seen any issues. So.
Any questions for Brad? Thanks, Brad. And the last two slides are kind of what I call my going away present. When I came here many years ago, I looked at the fire hydrants like you see on the left here and thought, wow, we need to paint those. We just never got to it. We didn't have manpower. We didn't have, mainly the manpower. So Tim has been leading an initiative. Tim, you want to talk a little bit about your worker and how
Well,
good she is?
We have a young lady that's doing some community service. And I will give her some serious props because if she doesn't get every fire hydrant done for her 40 hours, she's gonna be awful close. She's not complaining, not one bit.
Mhm.
She calls me every day, tells me when she's starting, blah, blah, blah. She's done a great job. She's been very minimal for me to have to take care of, which is nice.
You look good.
And they do look
Very
good.
good.
Really, they look
Yeah, I'm
good.
impressed.
I'm glad I got that painted Slavers. That's all I can say.
I just think that it just does so much for the village. And her first day, what was it? She wasn't even here a full 8 hours, Tim, and she had what? Was that 12 that she did?
Oh,
that
she
first
was,
day?
she wasn't here 8 hours
Yeah,
now,
and she-
probably more like 6 hours. And I think she did like 17 items.
17, yeah. So she's
So she's
flying.
just driving a little gator around and just doing her thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's done a fine job. I probably will talk to her, whatever I need to talk to, and let her know how good of a job she's
I
done.
think you should because she has.
Yeah, because she's really been pretty good. So if you haven't had one done in your area, let me know. We'll get her over that way.
So that's kind of where we're at, Wade, on our projects. And again, Brian still, because this is what, end of September, Brian still has 3 months to go in the revenues. I think we're gonna look pretty good at the end of the year just for what he needs to do to bring it up. So, any questions?
Do we anticipate any changes in the proposed projects? I mean, I know we never
Unless
know
council doesn't like that,
unless, something happens, but these are
no. I think that
these are the plans for next year.
these are the plans for next year, and we accounted for the projects, and something does happen, we still have the money to address that if something does happen. It won't take away from the project, so we should be good. I think that's all I have. Parks and Rec, we have our third reading tonight on the reorganization of the Parks Committee. Once that gets done, then we'll send out notifications. I'm assuming, Mayor, you want me to do that we're reorganizing the Park Committee, and do you want me to send that out tomorrow? Once it passed tonight, or do you want to wait? To the present Park Committee members.
To the present Park Committee.
Yes, not to the future. Or do you want me to wait?
What do you think of it?
All right, that's good. You let me know.
Yeah.
So that's the parks. So I hear there was a big donation from our ace baseball pitcher to the BYBA. So that is really cool. And I don't, and if I find out, when I find out from Joey that if that's true, then I'll make sure it hits the website.
Yeah, they posted, it was, I think, Saturday. Yeah, I
Was
think
it on
Saturday
Facebook?
they did it. Yeah.
So I'll get some insights from Joey, and then we'll get something posted on Facebook, but I think that's fantastic.
EDRC's next.
We don't have, do you have any update on the DRC? I think I know they're having this haunted flashlight tour.
Yeah.
So everybody should do that. That'll be fun. So I told them we have a ghost down here.
Someone says in psychic. Is that-
Oh,
I think they have,
psychic?
yeah, I think they're having a psychic
Ooh.
readings or something.
Interesting.
afterwards.
So that sounds like a Halloween fun. And then, of course, trick or treating has been posted for everyone to see.
What do you have resolution? That's
For the resolution 2022 special agreement, EDRC.
Okay, so what that resolution is they're having the holiday, winter festival at Johnson Park. Yeah, Winter Market, that's what I think you did. So we just need for someone to sponsor that. That'll go before council tonight.
Subject, so we want to sponsor that. And then we'll go, so Holder Road.
Mhm.
That's it. So.
I gave an update on that.
And then of course you also gave an update on the trash.
Mhm.
So
More to come next meeting with them.
that's it for old business and new business. We discussed budget and the ordinance for floor tax and the resolution. So,
Mhm.
anything else? Or we make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? We're adjourned. Next meeting will be the fourth Monday, October. 6 p.m.
Thank you guys for coming.
Mr. Little, will you stay, please?
That's you. They did the membrane, so they did the diffusers and stuff under the membrane, kind of crafted out, so they replaced all that. That's a good thing now. We got new membranes. got new diffusers.
They got a really good plan.
Can we get through safety in 15 minutes, 14 minutes?
No.
Oh, no, they're just bragging. You're not leaving, are you, Mr. No? I want you to stay. Okay. Oh, safety,
Can we get through safety in 14 minutes?
sure.
Brandy will not be here. She's still in Chicago visiting for parents weekend. So, Charlie, Chuck, when you want to take the meeting?
Yeah, I'm sorry, well,
One of the two of you run the safety meeting since. All
All
right,
right.
Chuck, it is.
Safety committee meeting is in order. We're going to start at 7:16. Roll call.
I can't find my. Oh, here it is.
Reedy,
Present.
Keller.
Mayor's here, DA here, State Chief, and Fiscal Officer. Approval of the minutes of July 25th, 2022. I move that we accept the minutes as printed.
Second.
Roll call.
Ready.
Keller,
Yes.
Reading.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Visitors, I don't see any here, except
No.
Council. Gold, we don't have any. Report, village administrator.
I don't have a report at this time, Chuck. We have started back up the safety council meetings through Fairfield County. So I think we're on our second one this month. So they have started that, and that is our requirement with BWC in order to get our discount on our premiums. So, yeah, so we're back up with that.
Okay. Chief. Police Department.
We're in the process of hiring or attempting to hire. We've got 2 interviews we're doing for the SRO program. That'll be this week. Hopefully we've narrowed it down to a couple really good applicants. And we'll be discussing later the contracts for all the different police services that we're paid for.
Okay, Old Vic, Gordon Street, any discussion?
We had tabled this, if you remember, from after the festival. Currently, the ballards are still separated. People are going through there. I don't know if you want to kind of just let it go for a while, or if we want to make a decision on closing it back up, et cetera. So I'm open to suggestions.
I haven't seen a lot, of course, this time of year, you don't see the traffic, park, swimming pools closed, baseball's always closed. If you just leave it open and see,
Monitor.
see what happens.
Issue with people or trucks or cars? Not right now. It isn't like Chuck says. It's kind of like that time of the year that nobody goes through there. So I would say, I think it's good. My suggestion is to monitor, leave it on.
Yeah, they would.
Just not one of
And they want it open.
Yeah.
She's not one of those.
I don't understand.
And I'll tell you what.
If I did that, I wouldn't want it closed. That's
Yes.
traffic, but that's all.
Okay.
right.
Being monitored.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll put that down, being monitors.
New business, parking in the corner of Mulberry in Maine.
Why don't we,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about that. We talked about that. Why don't we pass that along, because I'll update that with something else during council,
Okay,
since we're on a time crunch.
okay. All right, then we'll go into the second item on new business, ordinance 2022, prohibiting inflatable recreation devices.
Right. If you remember last time, I brought this to your attention that we had several people who were running the parks who wanted inflation devices. Our insurance company said they totally do frown on it. So then from the last meeting, you all said, let's just go ahead and put it into an ordinance. So it's not allowed, to your point, Chuck, on any village property. So that's what this ordinance does. So we need and this will go 3 readings. So we need a sponsor for this.
Okay, I'll sponsor that because I really get the insurance on that. Okay. Third item, ordinance 2022-34 and ordinance 2022-35. Susie, Ghostin, tree service. I know the chief talked about this last meeting, but you wanted to say anything else, chief?
At the board meeting, which was the same time as our last council meeting, the school board voted to accept the contract. They've sent us signed contracts, so it's a matter of just, us doing what we need to do here. Obviously, we're on a time crunch because we're really running up towards the end of the year. The SROs, 2 new SROs will start after the Christmas break. So we have to get them in, get them uniformed, get them trained, get them ready to go, and then into the school. So
Isn't this causing like cruiser shortage? Are we,
they're supplying cruisers.
they're supplying the like, full-blown cruisers?
Yeah, they're buying 2
They're
cruisers.
buying 2 cruisers?
Yeah. Matter of fact, that's another part of this is there's a major shortage in police cars because you cannot buy new police cars. So older police cars that you used to buy for $9,000, all of a sudden they're $14,000, $15,000. And people are standing in line to buy them. So we've got a couple contacts that we've dealt with in the past on other things. And they're looking actively now, trying to find, here's the other thing too, the cars we're gonna use at the school don't have to be obviously new cars, because they're gonna drive them to the school, park them. It's a deterrent. Somebody drives by and says, oh, well, the police are there. That's the reason you have a marked car out there. They'll use it to go to court. They would use it to, special functions, whatever. Now, the upside is a part of the contract. If we have an emergency of some sort, we have the ability to use those cars for our use. And again, they've allocated $36,000 to buy 2 cars.
What's the age of our car?
Well, we got,
an emergency when we bought the last 2, and I'd rather be planning ahead and
we've got,
maybe have them on order or something.
yeah, well, I just talked to the Ford representative and they said that they're not even taking orders for anything until 24. And it's an 18-month wait from the time you order a car. So it's all about those chips. They will not take any orders. There's a window, in order to get them on a state bid price, you can only bid at certain times. And we're outside of that bid window because there was no cars to bid on. So that's a real issue. We're actively looking to see what's out there. But to answer your question, we've got 2015 cars right now. The one car, I think it's got 75,000 on it, which anybody's familiar with police cars, you double the mileage and that's what it really is. The other car has 100 and some thousand on it. The old Ford, we keep it for an absolute emergency to use, but it's really on, I mean, the air conditioning hasn't worked all summer. It's got a gasoline leak in the tank. They're telling us we're taking it back one more time to see if there's anything they can piece together, but ultimately they're telling us it's $3,000 to fix what's wrong with a $500 car. Yeah, exactly. So what we are looking at is, as you guys know, the last time around, you'd set us up on, or ask us to set up on the payment schedule when we bought those cars. And we have carried that in because we have obviously to pay. We got one more payment to pay. And my suggestion is going to be is when we pay that payment, we order 2 more cars. That gets us into a rotation where we're going to always have a couple newer cars coming in. The newer cars will take over the vast part of the duties, and the older cars will be moved to where they're not driven as much, so we can, extend their life out there. So.
To caveat, I wrote the check for the last payment on those cruisers today.
That's outstanding. I like paying off debt.
Okay, we need a sponsor for 34 and 35.
I'll sponsor them.
Only book, okay. Sounds good. Anybody else have any new business? Next meeting will be October 24th at 6:45. We're meeting after the service committee meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Good meeting, John.
Wow, that was
What time is it?
full record time.
You've got a couple minutes to breathe before council.
What is it?
7:25.
Brian, at this point, I would just mute us and stop video. You can actually just mute right there and stop it. And we're live, so we record. All right. Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Osprey,
Present.
Foreman,
Present.
Keller.
Present.
McCurry is absent. Reedy,
Present.
Schaffner.
All right, 5 members, we have a meeting. First item is approval of the September 12th minutes.
I read them. If we look in order committee, I make a motion, Foreman makes a motion, we approve them.
Elvis seconds.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
and Schaffner.
4 votes affirmative, minutes will be approved as written. Next is tonight's agenda, and I don't think there's any amendments.
I'll move that we approve the June, yes.
Foreman second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Osprey,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes. All right. Next is visitors, none online, none Mr. Little here, so we'll go straight into admin reports, and I just have 2 things to hit on tonight. First, carry over from safety, where we were talking at parking at Main and Mulberry. On Thursday last week, I sent letters earlier to all the business owners downtown, because we have a downtown parking problem. It's a good problem to have, but we got more businesses coming in, and it's going to get worse. We have some businesses in parking lots, some that don't. So I wanted to talk with business owners to find out what's working, what's not, and see what we might need to do. Only about 6 or 7 business owners showed up. I think we sent out 32 letters, because it went to businesses, and if they didn't own the building they were in, it went to the owners of the business, so that everybody got notified. We didn't have as many show up as I would like, but there were some. Couple things that came out of it. A lot of people want something done with the corner building, so I'll have a follow up with Robert on that. The idea to keep, there's no chamber in Baltimore, but for a group of businesses to be able to meet, and we had that Baltimore Business Association that started up right before COVID and then kind of died down, so I'll reach out. There was some interest in that. The other thing that we talked about almost extensively then was downtown parking. And it's not always working because some people have lots, some don't. One of the ideas that I floated out there, but it takes the cooperation of all the businesses and everybody that was present. If they didn't like the idea, they didn't speak up, and those that spoke up seemed to like the idea, was trying to get some sort of cooperation to better utilize the lots. And I picked on the bank because they were right there. I was standing upstairs and looked out the window and saw them. They've got a lot in the back. It's bank parking only. They use it Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5 or 6. It could be public parking, 6 p.m. until 2 a.m. You know, and I told the businesses that were there, if in order to make this work, the village, if I need to come to you guys to appropriate money to say, you know, the public parking signs during these times, if we can make that work, we can make it work, because we're all in it together. And when one business gets good business, another business gets business. So those that were there and spoke up seemed to kind of like the idea of exploring that. The owners of the farmhouse were there and they said they were thinking about reaching out to the church across the street about their lot anyway. So I'm going to send follow-up letters as soon as I figure out how to word it to all these businesses talking about this problem and wanting to have further discussion on some sort of cooperative public parking agreements and how we can make that work if we can. The last thing they asked for was to meet again in about a month so that we can keep these conversations going, just not have this and let it die down. So, and hopefully more business persons will show up at the next one. So, and with that, tying it into the safety part, if we get parking, that might help us move cars a little further back out of that intersection, can help there. So that was last Thursday. Brandy's out of town, and I know Steve just went out of town on vacation, but as soon as I can get a date from them to have it upstairs, I'll have another one and send letters out to all the businesses. My general idea was we can talk and try to figure out how to make it better for when spring comes around and people start to come out a lot again, and to visit all these businesses. So that's the first thing. The second one, I don't really want to have to talk about, but I do, because by now we all know Terry's leaving us for a new adventure. I'm happy for her because I think it's a good opportunity, but it's sad that she is leaving us. That said, I think all of the guys are in a much better spot than we were years ago. Before Terry came in, when Scott was here, much better focused on budget and process. But we also got to have a process in place while she's gone. We do have the job posting set to go out when we start getting applications. I think the last time council, when we hired, there was only 1 or 2 council members that had day jobs, so it was easier to do stuff during the day. What I'm thinking this time is maybe we get the applications, can share a merit down, and then maybe 3 council members and myself and 1 other person can maybe do an initial round of interviews, depending on how many applications we get. That way we don't have to have a full council meeting. Obviously, before we hire someone, we bring them in at the council meeting and have an executive session so that everyone can have a frank discussion with the top candidates. But in between when Terry leaves and then, well, I guess I should say tonight is actually Terry's last council meeting. Her last day is not until the 17th, but because of pre-arranged plans, she will be out of town later this week and next week and Fair Week. So willing to zoom in on our next council meeting if we want. But after her last day, to make sure things keep running smoothly, I know enough to know that if I get too involved, I might screw things up on project side. So I've asked Mr. Little to be our interim VA and take over Terry's role in that to make sure all of our projects keep going forward. He's involved in all the different areas, so it should hopefully be relatively seamless for him. And then he'll filter out the more admin office stuff. And like Brian, I'll make myself more available to handle that side of the stuff, the office and fiscal officer and resident stuff, until we get a VA in there. And hopefully everything runs smoothly, and I think it will. So with that, Mr. Little's in the corner over there, but we're going to invite him up to the table in Brandy's seat for the rest of the meeting. So he can experience the meeting from the table. And I think Terry's got a.
You're gonna be on camera.
Yeah. Terry's got a plan to help. We're going to talk with ABC to transfer all of Terry's emails over to Tim so that he can filter them. And he'll be here at the next meeting to give the VA report.
Not true.
All right. Any questions on those parts at this point? None? All right, then I will turn it over to Terry.
Thank you. Again, you saw in my email, I have had a great last 5 or 6 years here at the village. I think we've accomplished a lot. I feel like what the mayor's saying is true. Our staff has grown to where I didn't think they thought they could grow to. They understand the budget now and have a lot of questions for Brian at times. So I think they are very well versed in their area. I've also been able to cross-train, have them cross-trained so that, like the mayor said, Mr. Little is in almost all of the meetings where we talk about anywhere from Drive to the corner project to the new OPWC. So trust me, I always tell the guys, I have a plan A and a plan B. So I guess I've been working on my plan B since the day I hired it because it's time to put it in place. And I think you have a very good person leading you. Mr. L, he understands rules and regulations. He understands processes. And like I said, he's involved in a lot of things. We've had our first training session today on payroll and how to do it. And he found something that I didn't see. So he's primed for the job. So again, it's been my honor to serve you. I will Zoom in tonight of the next meeting in case he would need me, but he will be here representing the village administrator's spot. Just a couple of things we haven't touched on so far is that Joey has completed his lead mapping. That is required by the EPA. That was a big deal. He's got that all done and he has submitted that. Brian will have his final report or close to the final report at the next finance meeting on the budget, or maybe another meeting out from that, but he's working on, he keeps looking at the budget. So
Things pop up.
things pop up. Good way to put it. As far as the WTP, I think we talked about all of that, except that we are working on a plan that once the crops get off to haul some of the sludge bags out that are filled right now and dry before winter. Mr. L got the lightning strike claim filed with the insurance company. So that's about, what was the total,
It should be about almost
$25,000 coming back to us from that claim. So that was a lot of work. Thank you very much. Most important to everyone, I'm sure, leaf pickup will begin the week of October 24th and will end December 2nd. We're getting phone calls already about that. So I will post that to the website tomorrow. Again, it'll begin the week of October 24th and end December 2nd. You've heard all the updates on the projects. In fact, I believe we've talked about all the projects. I don't have any more than what you've heard tonight. But one thing that I haven't reported on a lot is zoning. If you remember right, and I don't want this, I want this to be front and center when you pick a village administrator. When I first came on board and the mayor and I started the zoning going, the amount of permits and the amount of code enforcement was very low. It was very manageable. I had enough bandwidth to do it. This year we brought on Faith Rogers, who worked the summer for us, who did code enforcement. We had over 141 cases of code enforcement this summer between Baltimore and Pleasantville. I do not have the bandwidth to handle that. The person coming in probably won't either. So it's just a heads up. Having a summer intern like that does help. I think would be to your benefit. And we even had 60 zoning permits this year and more variances than we have had in the past. So I bring that up because that is right now under the umbrella of the village administrator. And I would ask you just to kind of rethink that if that's where it belongs. The final thing is that Barb has submitted her resignation. Barb will be working until the end of October and then she'll be done. As you know, she had surgery on her hand and then she turned around and had to have surgery on the same hand again. It's just been a struggle for her with 2-finger typing and trying to heal. So the next village administrator will get to hire an assistant to take her place, but I will be sorry to see her go. She's has been very good for the village.
And we appreciate Barb
Absolutely.
because she retired and then when we needed the assistance, decided to help us out.
You know. So she's been an asset. She's been one of those secret assets you don't see, only when you look at your minutes. So that's all I have to report, in case you have something you want to ask me. Other than that, again, it's been my honor and a pleasure to work for all of you.
Questions? for Bill? All right, Brian,
I just want to, a big topic that I've had the last few months is utility costs and I went, the street department had, their gas bill went from roughly $400 a month to close to $800 a month, and I inquired about it. And we had the line inspected, and there's no leakage. I contacted Columbia Gas, and they said there's no issue on the meter side. And one of the things they did let me know was they underbilled us for the last year or so, as well as not the transmission cost, but the cost that they charge you to, I can't remember what the name of it is. Transmission costs. It has been skyrocketing. That's another reason. But I did find out on all this that we are locked in at a gas rate of 0.52 per CCF until June of 2024. And which gas rates right now, I found out is 1.1 per CCF. So we're getting it. We're at half the cost right now for at all our places for at least the next year and a half. And I did look at the agreement with that I had for the electricity, except for the streetlights, of course. But we're locked in at a rate of 0.539, I think that's what it was, until June of 2026. So as the costs go up, we've got a ways yet until we are going to be affected by those rates.
So on that gas, you're talking natural gas,
Natural gas.
are they on like a budget? Because I wouldn't.
They're on a
think
monthly
they're
budget.
getting any at the moment.
Well, yeah, they're on a monthly budget plan. But Tim stuck out because his went from 400 to 800. I was like, whoa.
On a
wow.
budget. that's a
And,
huge
and,
increase.
and we looked at the usages, and the usage did go up, but not that much.
Right.
So that's why they were saying it's not a meter issue. We don't have a leakage issue. He goes, oh, well, we've found out that we kind of underbilled you the past year and a half. I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you.
Sounds like sketchy.
yeah,
But that's what they told me.
any other questions for Brian? All right, Jeff.
6 new pieces of legislation on for first reading. Several of them include emergency language, including the 2 SRO agreements. The chief has requested that council consider passing on an emergency basis. And I may have some additional comments as these come up for reading. So that's all.
All right. Finance.
Okay, Mayor, our next meeting is,
Ninth.
Yep.
9th and 10th. 10th.
October 10th at 6 o'clock.
Service.
We met this evening and we went over the projects for in the budget for the next year or so, and a couple of, there's a resolution coming out of coming to council resolution 2022-33 and also a ordinance come out 2022-32.
All right.
And our next meeting is October 24th at 6 p.m.
Safety.
Okay, we met tonight. We had a little discussion on Gordon Street. Decided to leave it as it is. Of course, the mayor talked about the parking issue on Mulberry in Maine. And we had 3 ordinance tonight that we'll be talking about later here in the meeting.
And rules.
We did not meet tonight. We will be meeting on October 10th after the site.
Police department.
Thanks, Mayor. As we talked earlier, we're moving forward with the additional 2 SROs, meaning we'll have 1 SRO in each school building at any time that there are children in the school. We are also moving forward with the hiring process for the officers that will be working in that environment and their training.
Fire board.
We met on September 15th and our next meeting is on October 20th.
Planning commission, we haven't met since our last council meeting. Just a reminder, our meeting during October was rescheduled because of fair and we didn't have a forum, and we have a public hearing the following week on some proposed zoning code changes. Tree commission.
We have a meeting, they have a meeting next week. I've talked to the commission. They know I'm leaving. We are buttoning up the grant that we got for this year. I'll be submitting that tomorrow. I'll also be submitting for a Tree City USA, which we again qualify for. And then Brian is now working with Steve to come up with a grant for 2023 for additional trees.
Records commission report. Motion. Motion at this time. If not, we will go into 2022-30, an ordinance to amend the 2022 appropriations ordinance. Please sponsor on this. Who's sponsor?
I'll sponsor this, since come out of finance.
Okay. Then I have it on the ordinance. All right, Mr. Cowell.
Okay, you need to pass tonight.
Yes.
I figured you did, but you look at this way, I don't know what to.
What's that?
It's
It's increasing appropriations
Well, I know that.
for street lighting.
Street lighting, that's why I had to open up the ordinance, 7,000 for street lighting increased it here, so. I'll move that we bypass the free reading rule. 4 seconds.
Roll call.
Osborne,
Yes.
Foreman, Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Shuffle.
Yes.
All right, your readings suspended.
Okay. Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance 2022/30.
4 seconds. Discussion. Roll call.
Osborne,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Shuffle.
Yes.
2022-30 will be adopted. Moving on, 2022-31, an ordinance amending section 1046.02 rules and regulations of parks, the Baltimore codified ordinances in order to prohibit inflatable recreational devices. The sponsor on this one is Mr. Keller.
Okay, yeah, this came out to me tonight. These things are just you just don't need them because wind comes up, kids in there, the liability be outrageous. I know. Talk about it. So we'll go to the second meeting next week.
Moving on for a second reading, October 10th. Moving on to 2022-32, an ordinance amending chapter 1026 of the Baltimore codified ordinances, water, wastewater rules, and regulations in order to establish a fee for placing a door tag at the service location of delinquent utility users. Sponsor is the shop.
This came out of service committee this evening. This is just an ordinance to establish a $5 fee for placement of door tags on the door.
We're gonna leave that one on for a second reading. Moving on, 2022-33, resolution granting special use agreement to the Baltimore Downtown Restoration Committee for the use of various village facilities for the winter markets. Sponsor on that one is Mr. Foreman.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. This is to allow the PDRC to have the winter market and use public village property to host it. And we are able to just leave this on.
And there's a possibility that this could require amendment once Brandy reviews it, determines that there may be some additional language that needs added to it, or even some deleted. So I use the model resolution that we've used for the Baltimore Festival to create this. So it's a draft.
All right, so that will stay on for October 10th. Moving on to ordinance 2022-34, an ordinance authorizing the village administrator and chief of police to execute an agreement between the village of Baltimore and the Liberty Union Thurston School District for the provision of the student resource officer at the high school campus and the declaration of emergency. Sponsor is Ms. Reed.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is obviously, as it says, school resource officer at the high school.
This one I think we want to pass tonight if possible, because the school passed the contract, right, chief? Correct.
So we need to adopt this.
Suspend three readings.
Sorry, suspend your three readings.
I suspend the 3 readings.
Sounds like a motion to suspend three readings.
Oh, that's what I need.
And
Gotcha.
Foreman will second that.
All right. Yep, we got you. I got you.
Foreman will second that.
All right. Roll call on suspending three readings.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
Three readings suspended.
And now I make a motion to adopt 2022-34 for the high school resource officer.
Foreman will second. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
All right. 2022-34 will be adopted. Now, moving on to 2022-35. In ordinance authorizing the village administrator and chief of police to execute an agreement between the village of Baltimore and Liberty Union Thurston School District for the provision of school resource officer at the middle school and elementary school campuses, and the declaration of an emergency. Sponsor is Ms. Reedy.
Again, as it says, it's for provision of school resource officer for middle school and elementary school, and I make a motion to suspend the 3 readings.
Foreman, second. Roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
Three readings suspended.
Now I make a motion that we adopt 2022-35 for the school resource officer for middle school and elementary.
Foreman will second.
Discussion on 2022-35. Hearing none, roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary, sorry, Reedy's not here. Reedy,
Absolutely.
Schaffner.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, 2022-35 will be adopted. All right, moving on to second readings, which is ordinance 2022-29, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and village fiscal officer to execute an agreement between the village of Baltimore and village of Pleasantville for the provision of police protection services and the declaration of emergency. Sponsor is McCreary. This one has emergency language just to make sure it goes into effect immediately upon passage. This is just updating the police contract with Pleasantville. We might have one more amendment to it. Final list.
Yeah, I think it's just we want to make sure both of us understand the definition of what we're talking about.
Always good in a contract.
So they'll likely be amendments.
Yeah. All right, so that one will stay on for a third reading for October 10th. On to the third readings, resolution 2022-26, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by Fairfield County Budget Commission, authorizing necessary tax levies, certifying them to the county auditor, and the declaration of emergency. Sponsor is
Yes, Mayor, this is the third reading. Said it's something the county does every year. Brian got all ready for them to send it down, so I moved it here. Ordinance 2022.
one second. All right, discussion 2022-26. All right, roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
and Schaffner.
Yes.
5-0, 2022-26 will be adopted, and I thank you because I got carried away on my signing screen earlier and already signed it.
I already signed it too.
That's the paper.
You appreciate that.
I did.
You signed the papers I have to send to the county.
Oh, okay.
All right, so moving on, ordinance 2022-27, an ordinance authorizing the village administrator to enter into an agreement with V3 companies for engineering services for the North Granville and Water Street roadway project and water line improvement project, and the declaration of emergency. Sponsor is Foreman.
Yeah, this is authorizing the village administrator to employ V3 companies to do the engineering services on the Granville project. I think we're all pretty much aware of that one, and its third reading. It has emergency language, so it can take effect immediately, and I make a motion to adopt.
Discussion. All right, roll call.
Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Schaffner, Reedy.
Yes.
2022-27 will be adopted. Moving on, ordinance 2022-28, an ordinance to amend Title 8 of the Baltimore Codified Ordinances to include a new chapter 251, which shall be known as Recreation Facility Users Group, sponsored Mr. Foreman.
Yeah, we've talked about this several times, and this is basically eliminating the old Parks Committee that was made up of non-interested members and reformulating it with people who are using the parks and more involved in what's going on. I think this will be good for us. I don't see emergency language on this, so this will take effect in 30 days. And I'm gonna make a motion to adopt.
Reedy,
All right, Reedy seconds. And discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Cosgray,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
All right. 2022-20 will be adopted. Let's see, no tabled ordinances. Does anybody have any old business? Anybody have any new business? I guess I don't have new business, but the October 10th meeting does fall during Fair Week. So I may or may not be here for it, depending on when we get around to feeding water and all the animals. My kiddo has a fair this year. So if I make it, it would be really, I'll try, but can't guarantee, because she's got a horse there this year, and I don't know when she gets to practice in the arena.
So Tim will conduct the meeting.
Tim and council president, interim VA and council president. Yeah, I will try to make it, but I can't make any promises, so. Anybody else have anything? I mean, Terry. It's your last one? No?
I've said it all. Thank you again. I miss you. I wish I could take my whole staff with me, though.
Oh, you
You can't, no. Can't take them. Can't take them.
Do we have that written in the contract?
But we appreciate everything you've done.
Thank
Done for us. We've done a lot.
It was a tough decision, but it's the right one.
I know it was, but you will do for your next village what you've done for us, and they will be better for it. I think it's a good opportunity for you.
Thank you.
And I would add, I would echo what the mayor said. I've worked with a lot of village administrators, and it's a pleasure to work with you. It's a pleasure to work with somebody who's motivated, on the ball, ahead of the ball game, instead of otherwise. We'll just put it that way. So,
I know the other ones.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Next meeting is scheduled for October 10th. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, one more second.
All right, discussion, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Unanimous voice vote, we are adjourned at 8:03. Uh-huh.
okay, don't leave, you three, because I'm gonna have
take
to
notes,
sign in duplicate on this. agreement. I have.
Yeah, it's all recorded, Tim.
So I would like
Except
to.
for last week.
I'll review. Explain that these are the ones the council approved tonight.